speaking of Chuck Schumer, understand there is a tour going on. I've seen this article, and they keep planting it over the last, a couple of weeks in an attempt to, this is number 6, to argue that in Chuck Schumer, I saw Brian Schatz do this. They're trying to argue that their vote to empower Donald Trump and Doge, a month or so ago.
In a shocking display of political theater, Chuck Schumer tries to spin his controversial actions into a noble fight against Donald Trump. However, beneath his claims lies a web of elite manipulation that shields the powerful while ordinary citizens suffer. This isn't just about politics, it's about the systemic forces that keep the 1% in control. Let's expose the truth.
No. Was it 6 weeks ago? A month? In voting for the Republican budget, which, remember, had cuts and also essentially made it inoculated the Republican House and Senate, specifically the House, from any blowback on the tariffs. Sort of an underreported element of that bill. And Schumer's still out there saying, and this piece is in Washington Post. Chuck Schumer's listening, but he's still sure he was right. I felt I did the right thing, Schumer said, of his decision to vote with the Republicans to avert a government shutdown, which infuriated Democrats.
This is a classic case of elite manipulation. Schumer claims he's protecting us, but in reality, he's siding with the very forces that oppress the working class. This betrayal highlights how the political elite orchestrate narratives that distract us from their real agenda, maintaining power at all costs.
His argument was that if they voted to against approving the Republican bill, there was no way to message to the American public that this Republican bill was garbage, and that even though Republicans control all three branches of government, that somehow Chuck Schumer would be responsible for the government shutdown, and that this would enable Trump and Musk to shut down parts of the government. The government shutdown. But it would do so in such a way that people were highly aware of what was happening.
Wake up. This isn't just incompetence. It's a calculated strategy. Schumer's actions are designed to mislead the public, creating an illusion of accountability while paving the way for Trump's fascist policies. This is the playbook of the elite. Divert attention while they tighten their grip on power.
I can assure you, the number of people who know right now that 1,400 of the 1,500 people who work at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have been basically sidelined. That in 4 months, not a single action has been taken at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That there are no cops on the beat for people who are subject to predatory lending practices, who are subject to, bank scams. People don't know that. You know that because you watch this show. But the vast majority of people don't know. And so...
And let me just say, for the first time since this kind of democratic weakness, it's been omnipresent my whole lifetime. But the reaction to this has been unique in the sense that Chuck Schumer is facing deep calls to step aside by members of his own party or the public. Democratic voters are not happy with Chuck Schumer. In his own state, AOC is plus 14. That's up from -1 in January 2021, according to Siena Research, which is a highly rated polling firm. Schumer's -10. And when you just take Democratic voters where an AOC Schumer primary battle would take place, AOC is plus 46 and Schumer is plus 14, meaning this is not even anything that anybody wants, except for perhaps some Wall Street donors were a little scared off by tariffs and they didn't want the government to shut down, which would make the stock market even worse because it compounds things.
I mean, can you imagine the heat that Trump would be under right now with his tariff stuff and no government agencies open to negotiate this stuff?
Exactly.
I mean, it just doesn't track. But here is Schumer is like convinced, and this is why you keep seeing these articles, because they realize. And but here is Chuck Schumer. He goes on State of the Union this weekend because he wants you to know he's in your corner. And he is out there fighting for the Baileys every day. Every day. We will win. Here he is. And this guy unloads on the Trump administration. Stand back, folks. Look out. Here is your fighter.
Right. Much too much.
I want to read something else you wrote in your book. You wrote, at Harvard, my alma mater, more than 30 organizations signed a statement calling the Israeli regime entirely responsible for the attack. And the months since October 7th have brought too many examples, far too many, of overt anti-Semitism. American Jews being harassed, attacked, and villainized simply for being Jewish. President Trump, as you well know, says he's cracking down on Harvard and other universities because of their response, or lack thereof, to those anti-Semitic
This is important, too. The hysterical cries of anti-Semitism that supposedly exist on our college campuses and on the left. First off, there is no expert in anti-Semitism that will tell you that there is, and it exists left, right, across the spectrum. But there's no expert in this who will tell you that the right isn't significantly more anti-Semitic than the left. I mean, just as a blanket generic thing. But the hysterics that he's engaged in essentially gave Donald Trump the fig leaf, and more so than the fig leaf, really the tool in which to begin these autocratic moves, whether it's in the context of universities, whether it's in the context of law firms, whether it's in the context of deportations, all across the board. What Chuck Schumer should be saying is, I regret everything I did that empowered Donald Trump, but instead, he's going to, well,
and
look out.
And we are getting this clip from Forbes, which clipped it itself, because there was a shorter clip on Twitter that we found. But of the full interview, it appeared that CNN cut off this final 3 minutes at this question, which is interesting to me. So you can only hear Dana Bash, you can't see her, but she's been pushing this the entire time.
Horrendously.
Liberal Zionists have enabled fascism. Yeah. They have enabled fascism, and Chuck Schumer going on a book tour to spread liberal Zionist talking points in this moment is not just an abdication of his duties that we've already laid out, it's further enabling fascism because you're giving them their framing on a silver platter.
Says he's cracking down on Harvard and other universities because of their response, or lack thereof, to those anti-Semitic incidents that you're describing.
Be specific.
How do you think he's doing with that?
Right. Well, first, Harvard did not do enough to curb anti-Semitism. I've been vocal about that. But let me just say this. What Trump is doing goes way beyond anti-Semitism. He is going after these universities like he's going after judges, like he's going after law firms, like he's going after the media. Because he just doesn't, he doesn't believe in democracy. He thinks he's king, as he said. And he did this at Harvard. So a bunch of us, Jewish...
He grants that the reasoning was just at the beginning.
Yeah. Pointless.
He literally just granted that the reasoning was just. So, okay, his tactics are authoritarian. Oh, he's undemocratic. We've already seen that there have now been 2 election cycles where Trump's authoritarianism didn't move people at the polls. Because stop making a process argument when you first concede the initial lie that these protests are anti-Semitic when the Jewish students are overrepresented in them and are being silenced by both universities like Columbia, who banned Jewish Voices for Peace the month after October 7th. It's Jewish students calling them anti-Semitic. 2 years later, we have the Democratic leader who is backing that framing, including at Harvard as well. He lost it with the first sentence.
A Jewish woman was harassed in Brooklyn by Zionists just the other day.
Yeah, chanting death to Arabs. We don't hear enough.
Holding an Israeli passport.
Yep.
Wait, like chanting death to Arabs. Can you imagine if you heard chanting death to Jews by kids at these protests? That would be rightly discussed as extremely anti-Semitic. But because Islamophobia is just basically considered like a a normal facet of our society, we pretend like it doesn't matter.
Biden's envoy to anti-Semitism, Deborah Lipstadt, has basically said, I pretty much agree entirely with what Trump does. I love Marco Rubio. I just wish they had a little bit more tact in some of the approach.
If you read that Chotiner interview with her, it's devastating.
Yep.
It's devastating. Incidentally, there's a very prominent resident of New York State who is sitting in a prison right now, unable to have been there for his child's birth. And Chuck Schumer's doing crap all about it. But wait, he's going to do something. I'm telling you, watch out.
Maybe I jumped.
Part of the reason probably why CNN cut this probably had nothing to do with Schumer's people saying, hey, don't put that out online. I'm sure it had nothing to do with that. I think it had to do with the fact that Schumer's anger and intensity and borderline bloodlust to stop Donald Trump here is so disturbing that maybe they were afraid kids would see it.
It broke the computers.
Here it comes.
I've been vocal about that, but let me just say this. What Trump is doing goes way beyond anti-Semitism. He is going after these universities like he's going after judges, like he's going after law firms, like he's going after the media. Because he just doesn't, he doesn't believe in democracy. He thinks he's king, as he said. And he did this at Harvard. So a bunch of us, Jewish senators, just sent a letter to the administration saying, detail the specific incidents of anti-Semitism and why cutting money off to cancer research or to Alzheimer's research has anything to do with
Pause it for a second. Wait a second. He just started off by this interview, like you said, by saying that Harvard did not do enough about anti-Semitism, and now he wants Trump to justify the thing that he's already said at the top of this interview that he signs off on? I don't get it.
Harvard didn't do enough. Well, what did he favor more? The Bill Ackman approach, the billionaire who took out rented LED trucks in front of Harvard and put all the students' personal information on there, particularly black and brown students. Is that kind of the thing that Chuck Schumer's in favor of? So he's granting the premise. Then what would you have preferred Harvard do?
But he's not even talking about what Harvard would do. He's saying, where's the anti-Semitism at Harvard? Yeah. He already said that there was anti-Semitism.
What's a contradiction?
Go back a little bit, because just a little bit, and hear him say that again. Now, maybe he misspoke, but who knows?
He doesn't believe in democracy. He thinks he's king, as he said. And he did this at Harvard. So a bunch of us, Jewish senators, just sent a letter to the administration saying, detail the specific incidents of anti-Semitism and why cutting money off to cancer research or to Alzheimer's research has anything to do with anti-Semitism. It doesn't.
How about sending a guy to Louisiana to miss the birth of his child? What did that have to do with anti-Semitism, Chuck?
Using anti-Semitism, and it's appropriate to go after specific incidents of anti-Semitism as a pretext to hurt these great universities.
This is absolute manipulation at its finest. Schumer is weaponizing anti-Semitism to justify attacks on academic freedom. This is not about protecting anyone. It's about silencing dissent and maintaining the status quo. We must recognize these tactics for what they are. A direct assault on democracy itself.
It's going to hurt every American. It's going to hurt the kids at the universities who've had nothing to do with protesting, but it's also going to hurt the kind of medical research and other kinds of great research that is done at Harvard and other universities. So we sent him a very strong letter just the other day asking 8 very strong questions about why this isn't just a pretext.
Did they saw, oh my God. I mean, that's probably why the Trump administration is in disarray right now, because they're wrestling with how they're going to answer these very difficult questions.
8 very strongly worded instances.
I mean, I'll tell you why this clip.
All right.
I'll tell you why this clip is even worse. I mean, the extended interview is even worse than the clip that was going around, because the clip going around was presumed to be what Schumer was doing to push back on the Trump administration, broadly speaking. But he's not even doing that. He's not even doing this as the Senate majority leader, a Senate minority leader. He's doing this as a group of Jewish senators who have an issue with this. Where is the Democratic Party? Where is the fact that you are the literally, supposedly, the most powerful Democratic elected official in the country?
He says it in the video too, where he says that we outlined in the letter the specific instances of anti-Semitism which are appropriate to go after. And you can't hear these comments, and we've now referenced Mahmoud Khalil multiple times. You can't hear them and separate them from the fact that 5 members of the Massachusetts Democratic Party, 3 members of the Massachusetts of the Democratic Party and 2 Southern Democrats have already gone to visit the facility where it's also Romeo Ozturk is being held there. So that's why the Massachusetts delegation went there too. But they talked about Khalil when they went. They have beat both New York senators in standing up for, I guess he was one of the first people arrested by the administration for free speech. And instead of leading the opposition to these absolutely authoritarian actions, Schumer is granting the premise that going after people, vaguely saying, for anti-Semitism, I don't know if he means criminality or if he means sanctioning these universities. He's partially granting the premise of an authoritarian.
A completely false premise.
You know, one of the failures of Chuck Schumer, I think, has gone largely unforgotten, which is that at the end of last year, he was trying to whip votes for the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which accepts the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is also the sort of underpinning of these accusations that the Trump administration is making against these students. Because if you go by that definition, then basically any criticism of Israel or any denunciation of Israeli war crimes could be labeled as anti-Semitic.
Oh, and it will be, and it has been, and it's justifying exactly what we're seeing now, and it's completely ludicrous.
Not after our strongly worded letter with the 8 very difficult questions which will stump him.
It's
Oh, no response for that, do you have, Matt? Huh?
No.
Yeah,
And
I'd like to see you have to deal with even 3 of those questions.
The Baileys love the king thing. I just can't even. The Baileys love you caught that too.
What's that?
Baileys think criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic.
Oh, yes.
So you love that king talking point, right? Alyssa Slotkin gave that to you.
Yes, I noticed that.
They're all
too.
in the same group chat. It's so obvious. It's as obvious as the one with all the venture capitalist guys. It's so clear they're just gassing up each other.
You know, the other thing about King, particularly when he says it, oligarchy is obviously more accurate. King is obviously an attempt to make you not think about money in politics. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, when people think of kings, this is not 1776. That's crazy. When people think of kings, this is what people think of.
Yeah.
This is like Cash Patel's little magazine.
Or
it's
Go Off
cartoon.
King.
It's just, when people think of kings now, it's not, honestly, just even, if you're not going to do anything as the most powerful Democrat in the country, at least have your rhetoric be effective.
But
it's
that's not his
literally
goal.
going Donald Trump thinks he's a puppy.
But that's not his goal.
He thinks he's a puppy. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He thinks he's a puppy or a very cute bunny. And he's not. That's not what democracy is. You're not ruled by a puppy.
I mean, it fits with their fetishization of our institutions. That is a disease among older liberals. It's a disease. And it's also particularly a disease among lawyers and judges. And Chuck Schumer cut his teeth as a lawyer. And they think that like they can just deal with this by being like very smart with their wording. Wow, that legal argument really stumped him there, as opposed to being doing politics, because they don't fundamentally believe in grassroots politics. A guy like Chuck Schumer. Why does he want to talk about kings and not oligarchy? I don't know. Maybe that bundle of cash from AIPAC and from Wall Street has something to do with it.
Yeah, rich people are annoyed about the king part of Trump, not the delivering for the rich part of Trump.
He's a fascist enabler who's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. Like, I don't use that. I'm trying not to be hyperbolic, but I do believe that about continuously not standing up for people who are being locked up for their free speech, standing up against a genocide. We have the leader of the opposition party saying that in some instances that might be appropriate. Basically,
Hakeem Jeffries too. Both branches of Congress led by people who cannot stand up for Khalil without clearing their throat about, I disagree with what he says, but is right to say it's fine, I guess.
Right.
Mark my words, Mr. Trump. You cannot be a Disney character. We will not stand for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schumer's actions reveal the true face of systemic manipulation, where elite interests override the needs of the people. It's time to call out these deceptive tactics and demand accountability. Ask yourself, are we going to let them continue to play us? Share your thoughts below, because we need to wake up and fight back against this corrupt system.